Hi, welcome to Round Trip with Kestrel, where this week we'll be once again visiting Dresden, Germany with Lea Baender. Lea, why don't you introduce yourself for me?
Hi, like it was mentioned, I'm Lea Baender and I'm from Dresden, and I make some music in my free time, and I'm studying math and arts to be a teacher someday here at the university.
Wonderful. So, Lea, you mentioned that you do a bit of music. What are you involved with currently? What sort of instruments do you use, and what's that process like for you?
Oh, I'm basically playing the guitar and singing to that. I used to play a bit of bass, but I wouldn't say that my skills are really great. It was more like we had better guitarists in our band, so I stick with the bass, which shouldn't offend bass players. Bass is awesome, but um, yeah, like usually I play guitar in some different styles.
Wonderful. And how did you get started out with your music journey? Could I ask?
Also, I think it all started when my parents took me to a nearby music school back when I was in second grade, so I think around 8 years old. And they let me decide what I wanted to learn, if I wanted to learn anything. And my choice was pretty clear on guitar. And I had the luck to have a really awesome guitar teacher who was really leaving me free and do basically whatever I wanted. And she just supported me with what I wanted to learn. Of course, we did some basics in music theory and a bit of classical music, but basically it was up to me what I decided that I wanted to learn, which was really amazing. She did a great job.
Okay, and you also told me that, like, near the start of like your musical journey, you had played at senior residencies, at clinics, at small events. How did that help you build sort of your music knowledge?
I think it really helped with getting a present on stage. So it like really helped to play in front of different audiences that were most of the time kind of small. We said it was our school, which would be like 500, 600 people, but most of the time it was more like 20 or so. And I think it really helped me to adapt to what audience I'm playing to. And if it's more like supposed to be like for old people and what they like, or for a younger audience.
So you, I believe, have quite a bit of experience with playing to different audiences. Before you even did the Coventry collaboration, you did a week-long program with some Polish music students. Um, could you tell me what that was like?
Oh, yeah, sure. So our music school happened to had a partner music school in Poland, in a small town called Slavno.
Could
I'm
I
the
stop you
geography, so
one moment? Sorry for interrupting. There
yeah.
is some connectivity issues on my end that I'm hoping won't too drastically affect the recording. Um, call this a bit of a timeout while I make sure I have everything settled on my side.
Mhm.
Okay. Could
Yeah.
you quickly just speak for me, make sure that like you're coming through clearly?
Also, also like was really bad. I couldn't understand what you said.
Yeah, okay. I think the internet, but I think the connection between the two of us is giving out slightly. Let me see what I can do about that. That's okay. Okay. How do I sound to you right now?
Oh no, you're way better.
Perfect. Okay, I think we're back on track then.
Okay.
So to reiterate the question, you have a lot of experiences of playing to different audiences. You had told me about your week-long sort of music exchange with Polish music students. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm glad to do that. So we were lucky to have a music school, which had a partner music school in Poland, in the near of a small town called Slavno. And it was pretty awesome because we were like most of the time like 10 students or so, which went to Poland for a year, for a week, and had some small concerts there with the students there. And then 1 year or the year later they came back to us, and this was for 4 years in total that I participated in the program. And so I had like exchange students stay at my place and I stayed at their place in exchange when I was there. And it really built a connection to the people there because we had a lot of years that we spent together. And even on the side of my group, there were people who were like there for 6 years or so and had an even better connection. And it was interesting to see how different some of the approaches were to music. So while we basically played in a more like guitar ensemble with 10 people, which all basically did the same. So we all played guitar and sang to that. And we had one guy who played accordion. I don't know if that's the right English word for that.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
The large sort of like
Yeah,
yeah,
the,
yeah.
um, and they were all more like solo artists.
Okay.
And but it was nice to collaborate. So we included them in our group, or sometimes they did their stuff alone. It was a pretty fun time.
Wonderful. Oh, I forgot what I was to ask. I did want to touch upon. Do you think that there were sort of big cultural differences between like your group and theirs that you got to experience, that you got to learn from it all?
I think because we all were pretty young people, the basic interests were pretty much the same, I'd say. So sometimes there were a little bit of language barrier because some of them and some of us weren't that fluent in English back at the years. I mean, it was in really young age. Yeah, really young age, like from I don't know, 14 to 18 or so. But I think there weren't that much differences, at least at the. I mean, we all connected through music, and so music was the main topic. And I think there we basically all had the same thoughts to some extent.
Wonderful. So obviously after all is said and done, you recently worked with the Twin Studios project to collaborate with a couple of musicians from Coventry, Feisty and Makeup. Could you tell me a little bit about the experiences of working with, musicians from this country and creating that song?
Oh, it was a pretty awesome experience. So first of all, I didn't even knew what happened. So I've never written a song before or participated in a project like that, where I really like collaborate with other people. And I don't know if it's a little bit due to the online process, but I don't think that I really got to know them like personal wise. I mean, we didn't have that much meetings, but I think for the music aspect, it worked quite well. So I think Makeup did the first parts on like making a backing track and backing everything up for us, and then like we did our part. But I think it was maybe a little bit distant. So while I worked on it, I didn't really knew what the other two were doing, like on the for the singing parts. But I think for that it worked out pretty well, and they were really really nice. So no really problems on that.
That's pretty nice to hear. Um, so let me check my notes very quickly. So you haven't lived in Dresden your whole life. You moved there um, when you became a student, hoping to branch out and like have a different focus in your life. How important do you feel music is to your future, and how closely connected do you feel you are with Dresden as part of your identity?
Mm, Maybe I start with the first question. So I think music will, of course, always be a part of my life, and I think it, everything that you did for many years will stay, especially if it's something that you can focus on your free time and that really has like intrinsic motivation and not extrinsic. I don't know yet again if that's the right English word for that, but yeah, so it definitely would stay. I think basically as a hobby, I don't think I will make more than a hobby out of it, kinda, because I have really a lot to do with my studies at the moment. But yeah, I don't think that I ever will stop guitar playing or playing the guitar. And I like to say that Dresden is a huge part of me, but I'm not quite sure if I can really say that because like I moved here 1.5 years ago, and it definitely is home. to me at the moment. But I think most of the part come from that I'm living in a really nice flat with some really nice flatmates. So they're really my best friends. I'm really happy that I moved in with them. But due to the coronavirus, I only had like half a year in which I really got to know the city. And I mean, the last year I basically stayed in the flat, which is kind of unspecific of in which city it is because I couldn't really get to the huge important parts of the city, I think, yet. But I hope that I can manage that. But I have to say that I live near the river Elbe, a river in Germany, and I'm really like 1 minute away from it, from my home, so I can go on really nice and beautiful walks. And so I get this, at least that part of the city really, really well. It's really beautiful to get your head free, and it's so nice.
It certainly sounds like there have been ups and downs, but it sounds like the city itself hasn't disappointed at all.
Oh no, 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 no. The city itself is really beautiful. That's one of the reasons why I decided to come here. Because I think the streets are really wide, so you don't feel like it's closing up on you. And you're really free, and the buildings are really, really beautiful. I really recommend visiting Dresden if everybody is in Germany.
Wonderful. Um, I'm glad you've expanded on that because I wanted to actually ask if you'd ever visited Coventry or how Dresden compares to other cities you've like been to, other places even.
Oh, so I think I've been to a lot of European countries, and I've never been in Coventry. I've just been in London and in Scotland, of what's on the island. And mm, that's a hard question. I think it's hard to compare cities because everything is so different. But I think the most difference. So I was in China for an environmental helping project last 2 years ago for a month, and I think the difference for that was the most because the cities, like in China, was like so huge, so many huge buildings. It was kind of a bit dirty, but there were like so many people, and it was like really awesome to get such a different cultural experience. And so sometimes if I compare to that, other comparisons are not that huge. But I think what mm, I don't know, I don't want to say too much of cliches or what's coming up to my mind, but um, I really liked being in the near of London. So not in London itself, but in the small areas around it. So
Yeah.
we went there with our class on a class trip. And I think it has really beautiful nature. And I think, so I personally really like the weather. I like if it's a little bit rainy and if it's not that warm. And I really liked it there and hope that I can visit Coventry and maybe see the others in a few years in real life or when the situation will allow that.
Um, I'm sure it'd be absolutely lovely to have you here, and hopefully, it can be just as enriching an experience here. I will ask just a few more questions before we wrap up today. First of all, you had said that you hope for music to be a hobby that you keep with you for the rest of your life. But where do you see yourself? Where do you see your main focus in, say, like 5 years' time? What do you hope for yourself?
So I think in 5 years I'll be finished with my studies and I really want to be a teacher by heart. So I really want to make great lessons and really a lot of, besides school, a lot of projects with children. Like, I mean, I have so many free time. I mean, I can do bands with them. I can do theater or chess or all my other hobbies. I can throw just in there and make so many opportunities, I think, for children. And I think that's where I see one of my most important points in life is really to help children. And that's
I
uh,
will
so
stop
at
you
least right now, I think
very,
that's the best that I can hope for.
very quickly. I believe we're having internet issues again.
Yeah, sure.
Um, am I coming through clearly? Perfect. You're coming through clearly now. I'm sorry. Partway through you speaking, it started breaking up for me again, and I wanted to hear a lot more of what you were saying, but
Yeah.
towards the middle end, after you'd mentioned chess, I believe it when it started breaking up for me. Um, if
Okay.
you'd like to take it from there again, I'd be more than happy to listen.
Yeah, sure. So there are a lot of projects that you can do with children, and I really see like my passion in working with children, and I really want to teach them how to think. So I think that's one of the major points why I even study math, is to learn like new structures and way of thinking. And it like really I think helps improving everybody's life to have some basic understanding of logical theory and how to speak and how to argument and how to come through and like kind of prove what you say and what you mean. And I think with having a huge and hopefully great impact on children, we hopefully have a better society.
Wonderful. Then I will leave with this question. Um, what advice do you have to give to either anyone listening now or anything you would want to leave with people who are listening?
Well, that's a hard question to keep. Mm, the first thing that like impulsively comes to my mind is, of course, to wish everybody a lot of health at times like this. And I think happiness is something that you can only achieve by yourself. And of course, there are a lot of other influences outside that makes it more hard or more easy to achieve your own good. But I think if you really try, you hopefully can make the best out of your life and just be happy. And especially if you make music, I promise everybody a better life. Okay, that was maybe a bit off. But yeah, and just do the things that you want to do and try out new things and broaden your horizon.
Thank you so much for speaking with me today, Leah. This has been another episode of Round Trip. Everyone, have a good day.